Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today we have Jennifer Quinn, who is also known by JennyQ, by the online world, and so much more. But she is a live streaming consultant, speaker, host, and author. She hosts and co-hosts international live streaming shows and has conducted over 350 live interviews. She was recently ranked by Klout as the number 2, that's right, number 2, right after number 1, live streaming expert worldwide. So do the math on that one. So we're going to learn about live streaming and so much more from JennyQ. So welcome.
Thank you, Byron. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. So how did you get into this world of live streaming? It's not like you just, you're going through things to do in life, like, okay, I've tackled ice cream, I've tackled this other stuff. Live streaming, yes, that's it.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned ice cream, because when we met in Dallas, it happened to be my cheat day, and I had ice cream, and you couldn't believe how much I was able to consume.
Well, yes, I thought it was entertaining of the sheer, but like, oh my gosh, like, there's Bluebell, we have to get some, like, it's just ice cream.
We don't have Bluebell in Idaho, so I had to have some Bluebell, cookies and cream. Anyway, back in the day when I lived in Houston, that's what I would actually eat for lunch. And so, so I had to have some just for old time's sake. I was glad that it actually landed on a cheat day, so that worked out well.
Oh, definitely.
Anyway, to answer your real question, I have a digital marketing company, and, I've been in digital marketing I've been in marketing for many, many years, digital marketing for 5 years. And so back in 2015, when Periscope launched, I had many people tell me, you've got to check out Periscope. You've got to check out Periscope. And I would log on a couple times and just think, I have zero interest in watching what other people are doing in their daily life. It just did not appeal to me at all. But I just kept having enough people tell me about it. And so I finally decided to take a really good long look at it. And being a busy business owner, the only time that I really had to look at it was late at night, sometimes into the wee hours of the morning, when I didn't have work to do. And so what happened was I logged on to a young man's Periscope broadcast. His name is Josh Greenbaum. At the time, he was 26 years old. He worked at a retail clothing store by day, and he was literally a Periscope star by night. He had the app had only been around for 3 months, and he had 50,000 followers, and he would get on there and have people hop on. They couldn't wait to connect with him. They couldn't wait to hear what he had to say. So if, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what Periscope is, it's an app where a person just hits, start broadcast or go live, and anyone in the world can watch what you're doing. They can watch they can hear what you're saying. And so many people use it to just get on, put themselves on the camera and talk to their audience. There are so many different applications to any live streaming platform, but on the particular one that I jumped on with Josh Greenbaum, he was actually doing that very thing. He had the camera on himself. He was responding to every comment that came in from people around the world. And the power of live streaming is you broadcast one to many. So now you're connecting with unlimited people, an unlimited number of people from across the world. And when I was watching this broadcast and watching this guy who was super cute, and I could tell the girls were going crazy over him, but he really brought some wonderful content. First of all, what I saw was he was connecting with the people. And he was validating them. He was hearing them. He was seeing them. When they would comment, he would respond and mention their name. And then what happened was they said to him, hey, Josh, do your motivational speech for us again. And he was like, really? Really? Like, this is 2 a.m, right? And he's like, really? Yeah, he's like, really? You guys want to see that? So he went to grab his laptop. He goes, okay, hold on. And he left the camera in place. He went to grab his laptop and he opened it up for his slide presentation. And he started doing a motivational talk to people from all over the world who just really wanted to hear it. And I got it. That's when I got live streaming. And I was like, people are really connecting. And the next day, I was calling all my friends and colleagues saying, you guys have got to check this out. It's amazing. Nobody did. Nobody did. Like, nobody did. People were like, that's just kind of a waste of time. And so from that point, I connected with a group called the Peri Girls, and they were teaching women how to use Periscope. I became a Peri Girls leader and worked with an amazing group of women. And one day, the founder of the Peri Girls, Joanne Pham, she talked about a new platform called Blab. And that's where you and I met, Byron.
Right. I remember.
Yeah. And so, see, Periscope was fun to me and it was entertaining, but I couldn't get my groove, so to speak, on Periscope. I would just go on and have fun and interact. And a lot of people, like, when they saw Periscope, it clicked for them and they connected and they knew exactly what they were going to do with it for business and how they were going to get their message out in the world. But for me, that didn't happen. It wasn't until I was on Blab and I saw Blab, and Blab is no longer around, but what Blab did was it brought the power of Periscope into a platform where you could have 4 people on screen at the same time with unlimited viewers watching and interacting with comments. When when
you think of the live streaming environment, it's something that's missing.
Yes, absolutely. And when I saw that, and I can't explain it other than tell you it was an intuitive hit. I was just like, I can start an interview show, which I had never had the idea of before in my life. But I saw Blab the very first time I was on there. I was like, I can start an interview show and interview people who've demonstrated excellence in their fields. And so within less than a week, I started a daily show, 45-minute long interviews with people who demonstrated excellence in their field. And that's how I started on live streaming. I became completely and unapologetically addicted to it.
So have you gone through like a 12-step program to minimize the addiction to live streaming?
No, it's an addiction that's working well for me, so I'm going to stick with it.
Well, that's important. It's something that is working and you want to do that. So how are you leveraging live streaming now? Because so many people think, well, great, someone just showed me their lunch. Oh, look, their dog's walking. But how are you really leveraging and you're telling people this is the way you've got to do it?
Yeah, so that's a great question because it is actually true. A lot of people are doing that. They're showing their dog on a walk, they're showing their kids playing, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Also, what exists, though, is an unprecedented opportunity for people to get their message to the world. And that message could be about their business. It could be about their products, their services, their books, their inspirational, journey. And so that's actually what I've done with my business is I've pivoted to that because I'm so passionate about it and because I've actually just completely, immersed myself in the technology and in the industry. I now am a live stream consultant, as you mentioned at the beginning, and I teach people how to not make the same mistakes I made, how to, minimize their fear and how to know what to expect when you go live. And I do that through coaching, consulting, and courses.
Oh, that is excellent, because I think it's something that people need to just understand a whole lot more of, because live streaming is not going away. It's going to continue to evolve. Just as you look at people are demanding more things. You look at video as an example of how many more ways it's penetrating into the day-to-day environment. You think back to, like, if you were to turn back the clock to, let's say, when we were kids growing up, you had 3 channels.
Right.
And now you look at the world we live in, so many more people, they've cut the cord. They're not watching TV the way it used to. They're watching things on apps. They're watching live streams because they want that engagement. They're watching video. So if people, especially entrepreneurs, are not producing content that's engaging in that fashion, they're leaving a crap ton of money on the table.
So much. And you know why? It boils down to a very simple equation, I would say, and that is people, this is not original, by the way, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the quickest way to develop that relationship with people in our digital world is through live streaming. And the reason for that is because it is even more powerful than video. Because on video that you've recorded and you edited, people see a nice, clean, somewhat manufactured copy of how you want to present yourself. When a person is on live video, it's real time and there is no editing, and someone can make a comment that you respond to and people see your real-time reaction. And how else can you get that on digital media?
You can't. And you hit it on the head. It's so powerful because people want that raw authenticity. You think about how video has just evolved over time. And for the longest time, if you're looking at what people are putting out there are these highly polished videos where you can tell that they have the fancy lighting sets, and they're taking from different angles. Like, oh, here we're gonna have this one shot from like going straight on, and we're gonna do this other one at a 45-degree angle. It's such a high-end production, but then people see like, oh, they're really trying to sell me, versus someone just turning on a live stream like, hey y'all, look what we got going on here. I had to throw y'all in there being in Texas, and that will never happen again. That's what's happening.
100%. You're exactly right. And you can make more genuine connections with your prospective audience or customer by being live and showing your human side, showing your vulnerable side, showing that you're not perfect. People want that. People want that connection. And one thing that happened just as live streaming became more mainstream in about 2015, I was sensing, being in the digital marketing arena, I was sensing that people were getting really frustrated with the lack of human connection. And right? And so what was happening was people were then going back to traditional networking, going back to traditional meeting one-on-one in real life, because we are wired to have human connection. And I'm not saying that live streaming completely takes the place of that, but it sure is a better substitute than Twitter profiles or, Facebook posts.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that, because I look at my newsfeed all the time, obviously being on Facebook, but something that you see so much is people that are promoting their latest course, the latest offerings, but the vast majority of them are not using any type of a live feed.
Interesting.
And yes, because you think about it, like, oh, come join me on this great journey to talk about blank, instead of, how about a raw, authentic conversation where you're sort of like, hey, I want to share with you a couple thoughts about this. Create this program, blah, blah, blah. You don't see that very often. It's everything. You can tell people I don't say they're cookie cutter, but it is, because everything's so polished. It's this pristine image, like, oh, here's the power post next to the product you're promoting. And after a while, they start looking all the same, versus I see an ad that someone's boosted, let's say a live stream, that stands out suddenly. Like, oh, this was recorded live. Like, oh, this is raw and authentic. I wonder what they're going to talk about. Because you know that it's raw. You have no clue what's going to happen. It's not going to be like, all right, let's see, how many takes did they splice together for this work of art?
Right. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. And the thing with live video is you don't really know what's going to happen. Someone's audio could go out. Somebody's cat could jump on their laptop. Somebody could have a comment that the person who's now either interviewing or, broadcasting live, now they've got to respond in real time. And you know what? You can't hire someone to do your live stream for you as you can with creating your social media profiles. And so when I start like on Periscope and Blab, I was like, this is a game changer because you cannot hide behind a perfectly polished profile anymore.
Exactly. And it's ironic you mentioned in terms of a cat jumping up on a laptop. Is pretty much the moment you said that, my cat jumps up on the bookshelf next to me like, really? Were you listening into this? And you kind of got frustrated because I'm not on a laptop for you to do that too.
That's hilarious. That is crazy. I don't know that I even knew you had a cat, so that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
And what's even weirder is I don't have a cat, so why that came out, I have no idea.
I'm just going to chalk it up to the latent effects from Bluebell several months ago.
Okay, that's fair.
It's the only thing I got right now, so okay, I'll just go with that.
That works.
But, you look at the world we live in, and the more people can start embracing it, the better. So when it comes to, let's say, live streaming, how does someone pick a platform? Because, there's always the new kid in town, like, oh, check out this live platform or do this. Where does someone begin?
Well, the simple answer is go where your audience is. The more complicated answer is if you don't have an audience, you need to know where to go, right? There are benefits to all the platforms. And then, of course, like anything, there's going to be drawbacks. Right now, the latest numbers that I've seen, Facebook is leading the pack with live, but just barely 1% ahead of YouTube live. And then following those two is Snapchat and Periscope. And I kind of, when I'm doing presentations, I don't really include Snapchat because that's its own animal. It doesn't have discoverability. There's no way to promote what you're doing. And so I kind of eliminate that one just for purposes of a new person getting started.
Right.
And so what I would say is, of those three, probably just learn the pros and cons of each one and see which one fits best with your message.
Right. And, if you're looking at the live streaming on YouTube, so much of it is different content than you would find on, let's say, Facebook.
Right.
So that goes back down to knowing your audience, because some of the things you look on, they're like, oh, that's intriguing.
Yes.
But at the same time, would you expect to see that on Facebook? No. Right. Definitely. But that's the key to it. And it's not just jumping in on the latest and greatest. It's keeping aware of it. I remember when Facebook first launched their live platform, and at that moment I thought, yeah, pretty much people are going to shift in masses from Periscope over to Facebook, just because so many people, they already have a larger presence. So they're not having to start off with, okay, I have 50 followers. I have to work hard every single day to get up there versus, hey, everybody, I'm here. And the crowds go wild. Yay! Makes it easier.
Right. That being said, though, Facebook is still very effective. And there are people who have huge success with great results on Periscope. So it's definitely not out of the game.
Oh, no, definitely not out of the game. It's just a matter of where do you want to build that presence at?
Right.
Because you have to decide. So many people, they try to be everywhere, but you have to focus.
Exactly. 100%. And that's what I recommend to people who are just starting. We look at what their message is, what their business is, where their audience is, and then we talk about which platform to start on and master.
Right.
Yeah, and generate even more growth than where your current audience is.
Right, exactly. Because if you don't do that, you really miss out on so many opportunities because you're trying to do everything. Right. And that's not helpful because you look at the number of people. That's exactly the case. They think of, okay, well, everyone says I should be on Periscope, but why? But that goes back down to that bigger picture of how there's so many social networks that will pop up, but just as many will disappear because people want to be the next Snapchat. They want to be the next Instagram, but not realizing that it's, unless you have something that's totally unique, it's not going to catch on at all.
Right. Agreed. And you know what, Byron? I'm sure you've seen this. Some live streamers do this, and I know that people are going to disagree with me on this, but I feel strongly about it. There's something, there's many, I'm not going to say many. There are some live streamers who go live on multiple platforms at once. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think it is less effective than going live on one. And here's why. The whole reason people watch your live video is to engage with you. People want to be seen and heard and validated. When you now have 3 or 4, even 2 different streams going on at the same time, so people will use different devices to broadcast to, let's say, Periscope, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, right? Now they have to monitor the chats on all 3. And even if somebody is skilled and able to do it, they're still not making eye contact with one audience at the same time.
Exactly. And that's so important that people understand about that focus. It drives me nuts when I see people doing that, because it's kind of like, okay, hey, I'm over here. Because you think about it. If you're looking at your screen on Periscope and you know how the comments just fly by, you'll never catch them in real time if you're glancing over at another device with Facebook Live on it. You just can't do both. And
the Periscope comments go away. So, yeah, so like on Facebook comments, they're going to last. You could go back through. You can reply. You can't do that on Periscope. And so let's circle back to increasing the know, like, and trust factor. One of the key components to live streaming is making that eye contact, looking into the camera, looking into the lens, because that's how your audience connects with you. So now if you're doing multicasting, then that can't happen. Another mistake that I think people make is, even if they're not using multiple devices, they'll use a third-party software, like OBS or like Wirecast, and then they'll throw their broadcast out to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope at the same time. And it's causing the same thing. Sure, you may actually be able to look in the camera and make eye contact, but to monitor 3 separate chats for a live video, not possible when you're doing it that way.
Right. And those things there, I can understand why people want to do it. But at the same time, we're in that world where people want to maximize their engagement as much as humanly possible, and people are not doing that. I totally agree.
I like that we're on the same page on this. What if you disagreed? And you know what? I didn't do my homework, and I did not find out whether or not you do multicasting.
Oh, wow. I'm so hurt. You didn't do your homework.
You're like... You're like, wait a second, you're my guest and you just put down my style of live streaming.
That's right, everybody. It's official. She's just like kicked me off of like the top of the Eiffel Tower. Like, yep, that's right. You're being thrown into the gutter. Ah, splat.
No, but seriously, do you do you multicast?
No.
Okay, perfect, because we're on the same page. Okay, excellent.
Yes, I just had to make a little bit of drama there. Like, oh my gosh, she totally threw me under the bus. No, everyone, she did not throw me under the bus. Thankfully. You're spot on. There's a time and place where you can do simulcasting. Like, I've seen it where, say, someone has, like, they might have like a TV show that they're broadcasting on, and they use YouTube Live as the core of it. But what they might be doing is, let's say, to drive traffic, saying, hey, subscribe to us, like, here's the behind the scenes as we get ready for it. Right. So they're doing something that it's something you wouldn't normally see. Like, oh, wow, that's interesting, but it's not the same feed whatsoever. So there's ways that it can be done effectively, but at the same time, if it's just the same thing you're trying to monitor, oh gosh, no. Especially if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a team of people, well, then definitely not. So a big corporation, let's say they're going to broadcast something. Let's say Apple as an example. They have more than enough resources. If they want to put it out everywhere, they can do it.
Well, yes, to a point. And I actually have worked with a production company where I did the onboarding for new clients and we worked with big brands, and the advice to them, even to the big brands who had the staffing, who had the team to go in and monitor the comments live, I still recommended a different approach, which was record it live in one place and give that audience the all of your attention and really engage with that audience, and then take that live recording and repurpose it on other platforms.
Right. And, and that works in so many ways. Like, I'm thinking, let's say, when the latest and greatest iPhone comes out, that's something that you just can't record it and then put it out another place, because by the time you do it, everyone knows.
Oh, 100. No, you're right. I mean, and also Apple is not in the same league as anyone.
Right. Exactly.
People don't care if Apple, the brand, is engaging with them. They're there to get the scoop before anybody else.
Right. They could just respond to somebody and say, hi, and that person's on Klout, oh my gosh, Apple said hi to me. But
right?
That'd be kind of funny, actually. But, that's the world we live in. Acknowledgement is everything. It doesn't matter the size of it, because people just want someone to recognize that they're there. And especially if they're giving that gift of time by tuning in when you're broadcasting.
Yeah, totally. And, I've spoken with very well known and successful live streamers, and even they say if they hop onto somebody's live video and aren't acknowledged, they're going to hop off.
Right.
Yeah, because they're there to get acknowledged. They're there to engage. They're there to, play the live streaming game with whoever's hosting. So I think that you lose a lot of traction if you aren't doing that.
So when it comes to acknowledging people are there, what are you recommending for people to do? Like, if you see that so-and-so has joined the broadcast, they haven't said anything, do you just say, hey, welcome, or do you wait for them to leave a comment?
Well, it's interesting. It depends on which platform you're on, whether or not you can even see that they've joined. And it also depends on your format of the show or the broadcast that you're doing. So I'm giving you a lot of depending, it all depends on. So, but the easy answer is have I actually have some tips that your audience can go grab for more tips, but I'll tell you this one. Create segments for yourself. Create an outline when you're live, and the rough draft of that would look like you'd have an intro, and then welcome guests who are there, go to some of your content, and then take a break and acknowledge people who are commenting or interacting, and then do some more content, and then another break to acknowledge people who are there. Now, at any time during your broadcast, you can change it up. If somebody posts a comment that you're like, okay, I'm not going along with my schedule, and I'm going to just acknowledge that comment right now, then do that. If you are constantly acknowledging people, even though we've already established that that's very important, but if you're constantly acknowledging people and not getting to your content, you're going to lose viewers that way. So it's kind of a balancing act, and believe me, it takes practice, and that's okay. One of the best pieces of advice I got when I started live streaming was from a gentleman named Dave Shrine, and he was on Periscope. I was watching one of his Periscope broadcasts, and he was doing some training on live streaming, and he said, your first 100 broadcasts are going to suck, so just get them out of the way. And that could not be more true. So go ahead and practice with develop your style with how you're going to interact with people. So does that answer your question?
Oh, totally. And, that great framework is super powerful, because people need to know, well, how do I go about doing it? Because it's going back to the acknowledgement factor. People want to know that you recognize them. And the quicker you do that, the better off the entire broadcast is going to become.
Right. And even when you have a high number of viewers and it's impossible to recognize everyone who's watching and everyone who's commenting, the fact that you're recognizing a percentage of the people who are watching, it still allows all of the viewers to feel included and gives them the feeling that there's a possibility that you're going to also read their comment.
Right. And there's one thing I do like about Facebook Live, because if you get people that start commenting, you can always go back later afterwards and respond to everybody.
Absolutely. And I actually highly recommend that, because it does a couple of things for you. Number one, it lets your audience know you're engaged and you care that they were there. Show gratitude that they were there, that they took time to leave a comment. Thank them for being there. On top of that, the added bonus is now it gets your video more visible for replay watchers, because when you go in and comment, it's now showing up in your newsfeed if you do it from your personal account. And when the viewers that you're replying to, when they reply to your reply, this might be getting confusing, but when they go in and reply to your reply, now it's showing up in their newsfeed again. And Byron, Facebook released some statistics that say 40% of all Facebook Live views come from shares in other people's news feeds. So you not only are you wanting people to comment so that it shows up in the news feeds, but you're hoping that they'll share it, because then it shows up even higher in the search for their friends to watch it.
Now, that is powerful, because if you think about it, 40%, that's not a small piece of change. So it behooves you to look at, well, your content. How can you encourage people to share the broadcast?
Yes, definitely. And and that's another trial and error. How will it work for your audience? For my audience, if I did giveaways or contests or incentives, I do not think it would work well at all. That's just not my audience, right? But if I'm sharing content that their friends are interested in, they automatically share it.
Right. You have to love how that works, but it all goes back down to, like you said, trial and error. That there's not a one-size-fits-all formula for you being able to get your content in front of everybody. So what you might find works great, someone else could try the same thing and get crickets.
Exactly. Exactly.
So when it comes to getting started with live streaming, what's the best way for someone to do it? Just go ahead and hit live and just roll with it to see what happens? Well,
there are actually a few things to do before you go live, and I have it all ready to go for your listeners if they want to download it. It's totally free, and they just go to 5 tips. I'm sorry. That's not right. Delete that.
5 tips. Interesting.
No, it's 5 things. 5things.jennyq.live. And you can put either spell out the 5 or write the number 5. It doesn't matter. 5things.jennyq.live. And what that shows you is 5 things you must do before you go live, and the 1 thing to never do. So it's a free video and download with that information.
Now that is awesome, because I think people need to know more about what they should do and not do accordingly, because it's amazing that if you know a few simple tips, it keeps you out of loads of trouble, and versus, oh, oops, why did Facebook put me in Facebook jail? Well, because you didn't do something right.
Exactly. And these particular 5 things are designed more to help people get over the fear, because one thing I can tell you is everybody I know has been afraid before they go live. Every single person, because it's brand new. You don't know what to expect. You don't know how you're going to look on camera. You don't know what people are going to think about you. You don't know if anybody's going to show up. You don't know what you're going to say. Like, there are so many fears that just can feel overwhelming. And so this little, download addresses those.
I remember when I first went live, I just looked at the camera and thought, I look good.
Did you really? Because you're lucky. Nobody does that.
Well, I've been looking at this face all my life. It's like, yeah, I got it.
There it is. Because what my experience has been is most people get on there and they don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they sound. And that's a perfectly normal reaction.
Well, the added advantage is that before live streaming, I was doing videos for quite a while.
Oh.
So I went through that phase of I'd record it, I'd look at it, go, no, I don't like that, delete, do it again. No, didn't like that. All right, change it again. Now it's like, screw it. I'm saying whatever.
Good for you. And that's just it right there. But since you had, I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but it seems like since you had experience with video previously, it was probably easier for you to get to the point of, screw it, I'm going to do what I want.
Exactly. I don't think about it. So when I jump on a live stream, it's not like I just pace around, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Usually it's, all right, I'm talking about this, type it in, hit live. That's about as much as goes into it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really good. And I think that with practice, everybody can get there.
Oh, yes. It's just practicing. Now, if you were to turn back the clock and ask me, like, when I first started doing videos, could you do that? Like, oh, heck no. I planned out everything. Like, I'm going to write out what I'm going to say.
Exactly.
Let me rehearse it a couple times to script. No, I just think of, here's my 3 points and go.
Exactly. Exactly. And I remember the same thing, Byron. When I started doing Periscope and it was time for me to go live, literally it would take me an hour just to set up because I was so nervous and I had to check and double check and triple check everything and make sure that everything was perfect. The lighting and the tripod and the settings and my, and now at this point I can be anywhere at any time and go live. There's no, you know what I mean? But
Right.
That learning curve is now what I'm teaching people.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, speaking of lighting, because I think it's something that it's out of all the stumbling blocks, it's something that can stop people in their tracks. Like, oh, but the lighting's not perfect. I just have this little candle because we live in a shack, whatever, but I want to go live. What should people really be thinking about when it comes to lighting?
So for somebody brand new starting out, the best lighting and the most affordable lighting is daylight. So take advantage of that. Sit in front of a window. Make sure it's not too bright, so maybe a sheer curtain or something to diffuse it a little bit. And sit in front of it so that you're facing it, not on the side, because that doesn't light your face in the most flattering way. So sit in front of your window, and that's the perfect lighting right there. Additionally, you can, if you're going to be doing this at night and you're using your phone, you can buy a little ring that clips onto your phone, a little LED lighting ring. And then there are also other options. If you really want to step up your game and create a studio, you can get the box lighting. And I actually have all of this, quick little email you can get with, all of this information. And you can get that by going to gear.jennyq.live. And it's JennyQ is JennyQ. So gear.jennyq.live talks about all of this. But honestly, the daylight is the best and cheapest. And when I say that, I mean that. It's not the best because it's the cheapest. It is the best lighting you can use.
Now, I just want to clarify, just in case anyone, hasn't figured this out. If someone's trying to charge you for daylight, run.
Whoa, hold please. New income revenue source. I never even considered how I could do that. But now I'm going to, no, you're right. Yeah, that would not be good.
With all the other things that people are promoting, like, I wouldn't be surprised. They're get designer daylight delivered straight to you.
Oh my gosh. I've actually heard of people selling air in a jar, like for $150.
I saw that, really? Okay, let me go to Alibaba. I need 1,000 jars. Why? I'm going to start bottling Texas air, and then even then I can maybe sell it to you. It was bottled right next to Bluebell.
If it had the smell of the Bluebell ice cream, it might just work because then it's calorie free.
Oh, there you go. I smelled it and I'm good. But yeah, it's really good in terms of the lighting. It's not letting that be a stopping point because obviously people have to start with wherever they are and not think, well, I have to have the box lighting set and then, the sound has to be perfect. You just do it. You think about when you first started live streaming, it wasn't like you're in the best studio in the world. Okay, I have everything sound balanced, the lighting, you repainted the walls so it minimizes reflections. No, you just kind of turn on the camera and went.
Oh, you have no idea. I actually have a clip from my first interview that I did on Blab with my friend and colleague, Toby Brockner, and he was kind enough to be my guinea pig for my first ever interview. And the clip of the first 2 minutes even, like, I look at it and I both, at the same time, I cringe and I feel really proud. And here's why. I cringe because the lighting was terrible, the sound was terrible, my camera was terrible, and I didn't have a clue what I was saying or doing. I bumbled through words and said the weirdest stuff. So there's all of that is very cringeworthy. But I'm very proud because I just jumped in and did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Just get started. Start where you are with what you have and learn as you go. If you wait until it's perfect, you will never start, because my broadcasts aren't perfect right now. They're much better than my first one, but they're still not perfect.
It's an involving process that you're not going to expect everything to be perfectly lined up. Like, oh, I have everything the way I want it to be. It's, you've spent like, I don't know, millions of dollars to have the ultimate sound studio. No, you just do it.
Yep. Absolutely. That's it. Just get going.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's like, you just have to get going. Don't let fear, stop you. I think that a great analogy for people to realize is, think back, well, if you can remember that far, what the first time that you were walking, like ever, like, you took those first steps and it looks more like it's more like a controlled fall more than anything else as you're like waddling across the room. If the first time you fell down, you just laid there and just thought, well, this walking thing is not going to work out for me. I'm just going to lay here. And that wouldn't be a reality because you want it to get across the room. It's the same thing. You have to know that you want this objective. And so what if when a broadcast doesn't go great? Oh, well, do another one.
Exactly. And you can always go back and delete it.
Right, exactly. Also, another thing that people don't realize you can do is, especially in the beginning, if you're a little uncertain of how you sound, just a little tip out there. You can just create a nice little list of people that say, hey, would you mind look at my first couple of broadcasts? And then you only broadcast to them. So you don't have to broadcast to the entire world in the beginning.
You're exactly right. And I actually talk about that in my 5 things, .jennyq.live download. I talk about different ways to get started very slowly so you can practice without the whole world watching.
Oh, but where's the fun in that? Having everyone looking like, oh my gosh, she's live.
But Byron, you and I are weird in the fact that we were okay making all of our mistakes in front of everybody. That's not normal. Yeah. We're weird. We probably need treatment for it.
No, I am not sending you any Bluebell for treatment, okay?
Oh my gosh, that would be so crazy. Do you know Bluebell actually, they, by the way, should sponsor this podcast, but do you know, at least this episode, but do you know that they actually ship their ice cream?
So have you ordered it yet?
No, because it's really expensive.
Like, wow, it's $30 to ship it. Like, I don't know if this little 8-ounce cup is worth that.
Well, I haven't looked at it for a few years, but the last time I looked, it was 4 half gallons for $135.
Wow. That's, you really have to love it.
It was almost cheaper to fly to Dallas and have it.
Pretty much. Like, okay, you catch a nice little cheap early morning flight on Southwest or something, and you get there, you catch an Uber to like Walmart or whatever, you go sit out at a parking lot, eat the stuff, and catch a noon flight back or whatever. Like, yay.
Yes, like, so where are you going today? I'm going to Texas to get Bluebell.
Yeah, the things you do for your cravings.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's, if people want a particular outcome, it's just overcoming any obstacle. Not that I'm recommending anybody like fly to Texas just for or Bluebell or anything, but when you want something bad, if you're going to figure out a way to do it, it's just like when you're going to live stream, you're going to get over anything that gets in your way. Like, okay, the lighting wasn't great, change the bulbs. Like, oh, the audio didn't sound great, get a microphone or whatever.
Right. And be proud that you got started.
Right, exactly. No one has ever had a perfect broadcast that never started.
and I even will go out there and say no one has ever had a perfect broadcast. Period.
Well, you didn't see mine the other day.
Well, that's fair.
No, I just thought I'd throw that out there. It's like, well, I thought it was really darn good. It might have been like a 99.9 in
All
the
right.
awesome column,
All
but
right.
hey.
I'm sure it was.
So, all right. So, if we're looking at all these things, and we have to narrow it down to what's one thing that people should be doing if they're truly wanting to live stream successfully.
Wow, that's hard. That's hard to pick one, because if I had to pick one, what I would say is just get started. But start where you are with what you have. We've already covered that one. So let me go with another one, and that is do it consistently. Broadcast consistently. Get started and keep going. Do it consistently. It's like anything else that you want to maximize and get really good at, you need to do it consistently. If you do it once or twice or 3 times and determine your success based on those 3, you're probably not going to be happy.
Right, exactly. Consistency matters because so many people, well, unfortunately, they're not doing it.
Right. It's funny that we're even talking about this, because this morning I was at the gym and I was thinking about all the people that I've met through live streaming, which I have to tell you, not only have there been a lot, some of the most phenomenal people I've ever known. But I also was thinking about people who I met at the beginning and I don't see them anymore. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder what happened. I wonder why they're not live streaming anymore, But then there's a huge amount of people who I met through live streaming 2 years ago who are still live streaming and crushing it. So, but I just think that's interesting. And, I'm just going to throw out there, you may start live streaming, make sure you give it a fair run, but you might decide it's really not for me. And that's okay.
Right. Exactly. Everyone will find a platform that resonates with them. And some people look and go, you know what? That one just doesn't do much for me.
Right, like I was talking about with Periscope. It did not resonate with me. I don't know why, but I loved live streaming and I loved the connections people were making. And one of my biggest experiences with live broadcasting was on Periscope. It was when I was fortunate enough to participate in the huge Applebee's Taste the Change campaign, where they had live streamers from all over the country go into local Applebee's and broadcast live, and then it was streamed into their website. So, 3 of the top live streamers were there: Vincenzo Landino, Brian Fanzo, and Sonny Lenarduzzi, and they were hosting the event. And, I'm so grateful for that opportunity. In fact, that's how I met Vincenzo Landino, who is still a colleague and a friend. And so the point is, just jump in there, get started, be a part of it. And even though Periscope is not my main platform that I use, I learned a ton from it, and it opened a lot of doors for me.
That is awesome. So with that, as we're wrapping up here, how can people learn more about you and reach out to you to learn everything and then some about live streaming?
So the best way is to go to, if you just have a quick question or whatever, very cool. You can find me like on Twitter at JennyQ, JennyQ, and I'm happy to connect there. If you are interested in live streaming and want to get started, I have a Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. It's totally free to be in, but you can register for that. Go to facebook.jennyq.live. Facebook.jennyq.live.
That is great. So perfect. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show today and sharing a wealth of wisdom about live streaming and so much more.
Thank you, Byron. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.